Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me again today. Today I'm going to be reading a couple of chapters from Anthony de Mello's wonderful book entitled Awareness, subtitled The Perils and Opportunities of Reality. So please join me, sit back and relax. Let's listen to a couple of chapters from this wonderful book. Chapter 18, entitled On Dependence. But it's what all the mystics in the past have been telling us. I'm not saying that me, the conditioned self, will not sometimes fall into its usual patterns. That's the way we've been conditioned. But it raises the question whether it is conceivable to live a life in which you would be so totally alone that you would depend on no one. We all depend on one another for all kinds of things, don't we? We depend on the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Interdependence. That's fine. We set up society this way and we allot different functions to different people for the welfare of everyone, so that we will function better and live more effectively. At least we hope so. But to depend on another psychologically, to depend on another emotionally, what does that imply? It means to depend on another human being for my happiness. Think about that. Because if you do, the next thing you will be doing, whether you're aware of it or not, is demanding that other people contribute to your happiness. Then there will be a next step: fear. Fear of loss, fear of alienation, fear of rejection, mutual control. Perfect love casts out fear. Where there is love, there are no demands, no expectations, and no dependency. I do not demand that you make me happy. My happiness does not lie in you. If you were to leave me, I will not feel sorry for myself. I enjoy your company immensely, but I do not cling. I enjoy it on a non-clinging basis. What I really enjoy is not you. It's something that's greater than both you and me. It is something that I discovered, a kind of symphony, a kind of orchestra that plays one melody in your presence. But when you depart, the orchestra doesn't stop. When I meet someone else, it plays another melody, which is also very delightful. And when I'm alone, it continues to play. There's a great repertoire, and it never ceases to play. That's what awakening is all about. That's also why we're hypnotized, brainwashed, asleep. It seems terrifying to ask, but can you be said to love me if you cling to me and will not let me go? If you will not let me be me? Can you be said to love me if you need me psychologically or emotionally for your happiness? This flies in the face of universal teaching of all the scriptures, of all religions, of all the mystics. How is it that we missed it for so many years? I said to myself repeatedly, how come I didn't see it? When you read those radical things in the scriptures, you begin to wonder, is this man crazy? But after a while, you begin to think everybody else is crazy. Unless you hate your father and mother, brother and sisters, unless you renounce and give up everything you possess, you cannot be my disciple. You must drop it all. Not physical renunciation, you understand. That's easy. When your illusions drop, you're in touch with reality at last, and believe me, you will never again be lonely. Never again. Loneliness is not cured by human company. Loneliness is cured by contact with reality. Oh, I have so much to say about that. Contact with reality. Dropping one's illusions. Making contact with the real. Whatever it is, it has no name. We can only know it by dropping what is unreal. You can only know what aloneness is when you drop your clinging, when you drop your dependency. But the first step toward that is that you see it as desirable. If you don't see it as desirable, how will you get anywhere near it? Think of the loneliness that is yours. Would human company ever take it away? It will only serve as a distraction. There's an emptiness inside, isn't there? And when the emptiness surfaces, what do? You run away. Turn on the television, turn on the radio, read a book, search for human company, seek entertainment, seek distraction. Everybody does that. It's big business nowadays, an organized industry to distract us and entertain us. Chapter 19. This one's entitled, How Happiness Happens. Come home to yourself. Observe yourself. That's why I said earlier that self-observation is such a delightful and extraordinary thing. After a while, you don't have to make any effort. Because as illusions begin to crumble, you begin to know things that cannot be described. It's called happiness. Everything changes and you become addicted to awareness. That's the story of the disciple who went to the master and said, could you give me a word of wisdom? Could you tell me something that would guide me through my days? It was the Master's day of silence, so he picked up a pad. It said, Awareness. When the disciple saw it, he said, This is too brief. Can you expand on it a bit? So the Master took back the pad and wrote, Awareness, awareness, awareness. The disciple said, Yes, but what does it mean? The Master took back the pad and wrote, Awareness, awareness, awareness means awareness. That's what it is to watch yourself. No one can show you how to do it, because he would be giving you a technique and he would be programming you. But watch yourself. When you talk to someone, are you aware of it or are you simply identifying with it? When you got angry with somebody, were you aware that you were angry or were you simply identifying with your anger? Later, when you had the time, did you study your experience and attempt to understand it? Where did it come from? What brought it on? I don't know of any other way to awareness. You only change what you understand. What you do not understand and are not aware of, you repress. You don't change. But when you understand it, it changes. I am sometimes asked, is this growing in awareness in a gradual thing, or is it a whammo kind of thing? There are some lucky people who see this in a flash. They just become aware. There are others who keep growing into it slowly, gradually, increasingly. They begin to see things. Illusions drop away, fantasies are peeled away, and they start to get in touch with facts. There's no general rule. There's a famous story about a lion who came upon a flock of sheep and to his amazement found a lion among the sheep. It was a lion who had been brought up by the sheep ever since he was a cub. It would bleat like a sheep and run around like a sheep. The lion went straight for him. And when the sheep lion stood in front of the real one, he trembled in every limb. And the lion said to him, What are you doing among these sheep? The sheep lion said, I am a sheep. The lion said, Oh, no, you're not. You're coming with me. So he took the sheep lion to a pool and said, Look. When the sheep lion looked at his reflection in the water, he let out a mighty roar, and in that moment he was transformed. He was never the same again. If you're lucky and the gods are gracious, or if you're gifted with divine grace, use any theological expression you want. You might suddenly understand who I is, and you'll never be the same again. Nothing will ever be the same again. Never. Nothing will ever be able to touch you again, and no one will ever be able to hurt you again. You will fear no one, and you will fear nothing. Isn't that extraordinary? You live like a king, like a queen. This is what it means to live like royalty. Not rubbish like getting your picture in the newspaper or having a lot of money. That's a lot of rot. You fear no one because you're perfectly content to be nobody. You don't give a damn about success or failure. They mean nothing. Honor, disgrace, they mean nothing. If you make a fool of yourself, that means nothing either. Isn't that a wonderful state to be in? Some people arrive at this goal painstakingly, step by step, through months and weeks of self-awareness. But I'll promise you this, I have not known a single person who gave time to being aware who didn't see a difference in a matter of weeks. The quality of their life changes. They don't have to take it on faith anymore. They see it. They're different. They react differently. In fact, they react less and act more. You see things you've never seen before. You're much more energetic, much more alive. People think of they had no cravings, they'd be like dead wood, but in fact, they lose their tension. Get rid of your fear of failure, your tensions about succeeding. You'll be yourself, relaxed. You wouldn't be driving with your brakes on. That's what would happen. There's a lovely saying in Chuang-Tzu, a great Chinese sage, that I took the trouble to learn by heart. It goes, when the archer shoots for no particular prize, he has all the skills. When he shoots to win a brass buckle, he is already nervous. When he shoots for a gold prize, he goes blind, sees two targets, and is out of his mind. His skill has not changed, but the prize divides him. He cares. He thinks more of winning than of shooting, and the need to win drains him of his power. Isn't that an image of what most people are? When you're living for nothing, you've got all your skills. You've got all your energy. You're relaxed. You don't care. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. Now there's a human living for you. That's what life is all about. That can only come from awareness. And in awareness, you will understand that honor doesn't mean a thing. It's a social convention, that's all. That's why the mystics and the prophets didn't bother one bit about it. Honor or disgrace meant nothing to them. They were living in another world. In the world of the awakened, success or failure meant nothing to them. They had the attitude, I'm an ass, you're an ass, so where's the problem? Someone once said, the three most difficult things for a human being are not physical feats or intellectual achievements. They are first, returning love for hate. Second, including the excluded. Third, admitting that you're wrong. But these are the easiest things in the world. If you haven't identified with the me, you can say things like, I'm wrong. If you knew me better, you'd see how often I'm wrong. What would you expect from an ass? But if I haven't identified with these aspects of me, you can't hurt me. Initially, the old conditioning will kick in, and you'll be depressed and anxious. You'll grieve, cry, and so on. Before enlightenment, I used to be depressed. After enlightenment, I continue to be depressed. But there's a difference. I don't identify with it anymore. Do you know what a big difference that is? You step outside of yourself and look at that depression and don't identify with it. You don't do a thing to make it go away. You are perfectly willing to go on with your life while it passes through and disappears. If you don't know what that means, you really have something to look forward to. And anxiety? There it comes, and you're not troubled. How strange. You're anxious, but you're not troubled. Isn't that a paradox? You're willing to let this cloud come in because the more you fight it, the more power you give it. You're willing to observe it as it passes by. You can be happy in your anxiety. Isn't that crazy? You can be happy in your depression, but you can't have the wrong notion of happiness. Did you think happiness was excitement or thrills? That's what causes the depression. Didn't anyone tell you that? You're thrilled, all right, but you're just preparing the way for your next depression. You're thrilled, but you pick up the anxiety behind that. How can I make it last? That's not happiness. That's addiction. I wonder how many non-addicts there are reading this book. If you're anything like an average group, there are few, very few. Don't look down your nose at the alcoholics and drug addicts. Maybe you're just as addicted as they are. The first time I got a glimpse of this new world, it was terrifying. I understood what it meant to be alone, with nowhere to rest your head, to leave everyone free and be free yourself, to be special to no one and love everyone, because love does that. It shines on good and bad alike. It makes rain fall on saints and sinners alike. Is it possible for the rose to say, I will give my fragrance to the good people who smell me, but I will withhold it from the bad? Or is it possible for a lamp to say, I will give my light to the good people in this room, but I will withhold it from the evil people? Or can a tree say, I'll give my shade to the good people who rest under me, but I will withhold it from the bad? These are images of what love is about. It's been there all along, staring us in the face in the scriptures, though we never cared to see it because we were so drowned in what our culture calls love, with its love songs and poems. That isn't love at all. That's the opposite of love. That's desire and control and possessiveness. That's manipulation and fear and anxiety. That's not love. We were told that happiness is a smooth complexion, a holiday resort. It isn't these things, but we have subtle ways of making our happiness depend on other things, both within us and outside us. We say, I refuse to be happy until my neuroses go away. I have good news for you. You can be happy right now with the neurosis. You want even better news? There's only one reason why you're not experiencing what in India we call anand, bliss. Bliss. There's only one reason why you're not experiencing bliss at this present moment, and it's because you're thinking or focusing on what you don't have. Otherwise, you would be experiencing bliss. You're focusing on what you don't have, but right now you have everything you need to be in bliss. Jesus was talking horse sense to lay people, to starving people, to poor people. He was telling them the good news. It's yours for the taking, but who listens? No one's interested. They'd rather stay asleep. Chapter 19 is entitled Fear, the Root of Violence. Some say that there are only two things in the world, God and fear. Love and fear are the only two things. There's only one evil in the world, fear. That's only one good in the world, love. It's sometimes called by other names. It's sometimes called happiness or freedom or peace or joy or God or whatever. But the label doesn't really matter. And there's not a single evil in the world that you cannot trace to fear, not one. Ignorance and fear, ignorance caused by fear, that's where all the evils come from, and that's where your violence comes from. The person who is truly nonviolent, who is incapable of violence, is the person who is fearless. It's only when you're afraid that you become angry. Think of the last time you were angry. Go ahead. Think of the last time you were angry and search for the fear behind it. What were you afraid of losing? What were you afraid of being taken from you? That's where the anger comes from. Think of an angry person, maybe someone you're afraid of. Can you see how frightened he or she is? He's really frightened. He really is. She's really frightened, or she wouldn't be angry. Ultimately, There are only two things, love and fear. In this retreat, I'd rather leave it like this, unstructured and moving from one thing to another and returning themes again and again. Because that's the way to really grasp what I'm saying. If it doesn't hit you the first time, it might the second. And what doesn't hit one person might hit another. I've got different themes, but they're all about the same thing. Call it awareness, call it love, call it spirituality or freedom or awakening or whatever. It's really the same thing. Thank you guys for listening today. I hope you've enjoyed the readings from Anthony DeMello's book, Awareness Again. I'm going to put a link in the description to help support the channel. It's an affiliate link. So if you are interested in getting this book, it's really nice. It's like less than $15, I think, on Amazon. And I'll make a couple bucks off it. I really appreciate it. If you know anybody that would enjoy these readings, please send them a link. Like and leave me a comment. I'd really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you all for listening, and be safe out there.